What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JP, and today I'm back at you with another hot one. You can already see what it is: the Google Pixel 4a. Sorry about my camera trying to focus there. Anyways, man, I don't have to make this very long. Y'all already know what this phone is about. There's already tons of videos. It comes out on the 20th, which is this coming Thursday. Today it's the 18th, Tuesday. I got it 2 days early. I did get it from the Google. Store. And very happy I got it a couple days early. There was already so many early birds that got this device. I didn't get chosen for it, but they haven't really accepted me in Team Pixel yet, so to speak. But nonetheless, shout out to Team Pixel for sure. This phone definitely deserves the recognition here. Man, this phone's hot. Snapdragon 730 chipset, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage. It does have a 5.8 inch Super AMOLED panel, or OLED panel. I know some people are specific there, especially when talking about Samsung, but 5.8 inch OLED panel, always on display. And it does have your front-facing camera cutout, your hole punch, as I like to call them, and that's the only interference in the screen, I guess you would say. It's very small, very minimalistic. It's not big at all. No notch, no huge forehead or chin. The regular Pixel 4 and 4 XL last year, they were very oddly built. They had no chin, but had a huge forehead, and that was because of the Project Solely technology they had in there. Obviously, rather or not they keep that for the Pixel 5 or not, it was already known, last year when the Pixel 4 and 4 XL came out, that the 4a wouldn't have that. They were gonna, it was easy to guess last October, that the 4a was going to be much more minimalistic. Project Solely was going to be something, for the time being anyways, for a couple years, if it was successful, that would be kept on the flagships. But rumor has it, it's not even going to make it to the Pixel 5, but I don't know how true that is. Again, the Pixel 5 itself is also rumored to not have a flagship chipset itself anyways. No big deal. It's still going to more than likely have the hottest camera out. Speaking about camera, this has a single lens with the flash. They kind of, they got that square design in the corner going on there, which is a very common design cue this year, design language, if you will. It definitely looks like there's more sensors. They obviously could have put more sensors there, but they still stuck to the same lens that the Pixel 4 and Pixel 4 XL have, which took the best stills. This still takes the best stills. For $350, you're not even going to find a phone for double this price that takes better stills. And that's just from everything I've read, everything I've watched on this phone. It is insanely good. OLED panel again, full screen display. Besides the tiny hole punch, the whole the whole device is encompassed in the screen. Just about there's a very small the screen to body ratio is very minimal. The phone has a very small footprint because the phone obviously isn't much bigger than its screen size. So this is, it's almost all screen. It's thinner than it looks. Pictures don't really do it any justice. It's thinner than it looks. They did retain the headphone jack, USB Type-C, your color power button there, which I think is really unique. You have the volume rocker right below it there. It's not glass, it is plastic. There's no doubt about that. It's not Galactic either, like the OnePlus Nord. or it has a glass feeling, even though it's plastic. This phone, it definitely doesn't have a glass feeling, but it doesn't have a plasticky feeling either. I mean, you can definitely tell it is just by knocking it with your fingernail, but it has a very matte finish to it, which the Pixel 4 had itself. Even though it was glass, it had a matte finish, that orange color, or that peach color rather. They really tried to retain that same feel, without spending the money on the premium material, so that they could keep this device down in price. Which is also why they kept it with one camera sensor. They kept it with the Snapdragon 730. And the 730 is a huge upgrade from what the 3A had, the Snapdragon 670. So, and this phone costs less than what the Pixel 3A originally went for last year for $400. This is only $350. I do have an iPhone SE 2020 or SE2, whatever you want to call it. And, the SE2 might have the flagship Apple A13 chipset. But really, besides wireless charging, that's all it really has in terms of flagship. It's a very small screen. It's a 4.7 inch. It's LCD. It's it's nowhere near a full body all screen design. It has the old iPhone 8. That has the old design that was last used on the iPhone 8 and dates all the way back to iPhone 7, iPhone 6s, iPhone 6, etc., etc. I'm not knocking it. For $400, that alone is worth the Apple A13 alone is worth that $400. So I mean, I'm not putting I have it. It's a fantastic phone, but honestly though, the Pixel 4a is a better budget-minded phone with plenty of flagship features. I almost said speakers, but plenty of flagship features. I'm not just saying that the Pixel 4a is a better phone because it's $50 cheaper. No, what's $50? Both phones are competitively priced. I mean, they're as they. Honestly, they're not as they should be. Especially the Pixel 4a. The iPhone SE2. When you think of the Apple A13 and the wireless charging, and that's really pretty much where it stops at. I wouldn't be obliged to spend more than $400. The Pixel 4a right here, when you really get down to it, man, this phone, I'm telling you, you would spend. I would easily spend $450 even on this phone, $100 more than what it actually costs. This phone is amazing. For one thing, a lot of people are comparing the Snapdragon 700 series to the 800 series like they used to compare the 600 series. Remember, there was a time not that long ago where the 6 series was the Snapdragon that sat right below the 800 series. It was the second best. The 700 series was created to bridge the gap between the two, to bring more premium processing power to mid-range phones, and that's what your Snapdragon 730 is doing here with the Pixel 4a. That's what your Snapdragon 765 does, bringing 5G connectivity built into the die. The Snapdragon 765G takes that 5G and adds it to a gaming-centric chipset, while still keeping prices down low. So I mean, really, a lot of people they've made mentionings that the Snapdragon 765 is just an underclocked 865. There's a lot more differences than just that, and I think I went over this in one of my other videos recently. But really, when you really think about it, I mean, if you're not trying to go off into a huge explanation as to what all of the other differences are, and there are other differences, absolutely. I'm not saying there isn't, but to the average person, yeah, the 765 can just be looked at as an underclocked 865. I mean, it has 5G, it's built in, unlike the 865, so it actually will get great battery life, not just because it's a less powerful processor. But the 730 here really shines on this Pixel 4a. I remember when the Snapdragon 730 first came out last year, and the devices that it used, like the Mi Note 10, fantastic phone. Another 730 powered phone that is just beyond just mid-range. I mean, it was definitely a premium phone. But this phone has a different feel than any other Snapdragon 730 powered phone. I would actually say, honestly, because y'all know I have a ton of Snapdragon 765 powered phones. 5G aside for a moment, not making that a case of anything, pretend it doesn't even exist. This phone, the Pixel 4a with the Snapdragon 730, feels just as silky smooth, if not smoother, than most of my Snapdragon 765 powered devices. The Nord, the OnePlus Nord that I just reviewed, not so much. OnePlus, they have stockish Android compared to Google's Pixel user interface or user experience, I should say, the Pixel UX. They're both they're both stockish, if you will. And both companies, both Google and OnePlus, they're just the best in the game when it comes to optimization. Motorola as well. I raved about how fast the Edge was. And the crazy thing is, the Edge doesn't have the 765G. It has just the standard 765, but it was faster than all of my 765G powered phones that I had previously until the Nord. And again, that's just the optimization right there. The Nord basically just almost took the same exact OS that Motorola Edge has, near stock Android, and threw a slightly faster processor in the mix. So likewise, it's gonna be slightly faster if optimized correctly. But the Pixel 4a here is it works great. It really does. There, excuse the glare from my ceiling fan there, y'all. I'm in a different room than where I normally do this at here, but there's so many great reviews out for this phone already. There's no reason to really, just get right down into it. It does have a built-in eSIM, plus can take a physical SIM as well, so it is technically dual SIM, if I'm not mistaken there. Let me see something on this box here right quick. Yes, yeah, okay, yeah, it does. Yeah, it is dual SIM technically. Just only one of them's a physical, one of the other one's the eSIM. Again, that matte finish, y'all, it feels fantastic. I'm going to tell y'all something right now. This phone, the way it's built, the way it feels, this phone doesn't even have to be glass for the ladies to know the procedures. Sorry, it had to be said, but it's true. One thing I will say, the OLED panel on this phone does look better than the OnePlus Nord. There's a few videos out there already comparing the two, and it's true. The Pixel 4a screen does look better, and it's not just because it's smaller, which in terms means it has more PPI, the pixel density, etc., etc. It's not just because it's smaller and it's clearer. It's not that. It's just an overall better panel. They're both OLED, but you can tell that Google got the screen of this from a different company other than OnePlus, and it just and I may be completely wrong about that. It may just be the calibration of the screen. The more I talk about it, the more I think it is just the calibration, because if I remember correctly, the OnePlus Nord actually has the same exact screen technology that the standard OnePlus 8 has, and it's not just because of the 90 hertz refresh, which this does not have, but I'll get to that in a moment here as well. And the 90 hertz does definitely give the Nord an advantage there, but it probably has to do with the screen calibration, because if I'm not mistaken, the Nord screen actually is a Samsung panel. The more I talk about it, I was fixing to say it wasn't, but y'all can correct me in the comments if you need to. Let me know. And I'd be surprised if the panel on this phone didn't come from Samsung, or at least LG, because I know the Pixel 2 XL was manufactured by LG, and I think they still continue to use LG for some of their OLED screens on the Pixel 3 series, and maybe the 4s. I'm not entirely sure, But of course, I find LG's OLED screens to be, just as good as Samsung's anyways. I mean, there's differences that may show Samsung's are better, but you can find the same material that'll show you different phones where the LG is better. So, it's all opinionated. It's really about your own experience, honestly. And I'm just, I tell you what others say, and at the same time, if I have my own experience, I will tell you that experience as well. If I agree with what someone else said, I'll say that, and if I had a different experience, I'll explain that. But the Pixel 4a sadly doesn't have a higher than standard refresh rate. It has your 60 hertz. Would have been nice to see them bring 90 hertz here from the Pixel 4 had. The Snapdragon 730 can definitely handle it. It's not something that's exclusive to the 800 series or just the 765. The 730 can do it. In fact, the Realme 6 Pro, which I've also reviewed, had a Snapdragon 720G and had a 90 hertz display. So, I mean, it was just fine. The non 5G Redmi K30 that came out at the very, very, very beginning of the year, end of last year, the K30 non 5G variant, the LTE model, had the Snapdragon 730, and it had a 120 hertz refresh rate. So keep that in mind. I think I know I did a review on the 5G Redmi K30. I don't know if I did one on the standard K30. I had them both though. And then of course, months and months later, I put up a video for the Pogo F2 and might have also did one on its sibling, the K30 Pro. Maybe I'll get the K30 Ultra soon because I'm really interested in that phone. But yes, this phone, it may not have the flagship chipset, but everything else about it is flagship. Not all flagships have wireless charging. I'm just putting that out there. So I don't. I mean, it is a flag. I've seen it on mid-range phones too. Actually, heck, I've seen it on $200 blue phones. So I don't know. I don't know. I know some people consider it flagship, some people don't. But at $350, y'all, you cannot beat it. This phone is you have to excuse. That's my Chihuahua in the background snoring. If you don't hear him, he's 13 years old and his snore's been loud like that since he was a puppy back in 2007. But here's your box contents: your USB Type-C to Type-C cable, your transfer adapter, your charging brick. It does have 18-watt fast charge. Your Google literature, your SIM ejector tool. There's your box there, obviously, and Google. But yeah, it's a beautiful phone. This thing's blazing fast. It's a lot of times it's how you do things. It's how you optimize it. Google nailed it here. They absolutely nailed it. This phone I can easily use as my daily driver, just as any other phone that I've used thus far. Any of my Snapdragon 865 powered phones, not even my 765s, but my 865 powered phones, like my favorite, the Poco F2, the F2 Pro. I mean, I can easily use this phone right next to them. Is this, do I wish they had an XL model like they did last year with the 3A? I do. That would have been the one I got. That would have been the one I would have gotten. I do prefer the screen size a little bit larger, but y'all don't. But think about it for a second though, y'all. 5.8 inches really is not that small. It just seems so small because the overall footprint of the device is almost just as small because of the very, very, very small punch hole. The punch hole notch, as I call it sometimes. Thanks to that, this phone is all freaking screen. So the screen is almost the whole freaking device. And it is the 19:9 aspect ratio. It's just it's really, sometimes pleasant to hold. It's refreshing, honestly, which is what I said about the iPhone SE2. I said that it was refreshing to actually, kind of handle, a phone that was a lot smaller than other phones I had been using the past couple of years, because I kind of got used to the larger phones and whatnot. It is bigger than last year's 3A that it replaces. That was a 5.6 inch. You'd be surprised this 5.8 inches is actually considerably larger. It's you don't believe it, but you think, okay, 5.6, 5.8, how much larger can it be? But And the great thing is that the phone physically isn't any bigger than the 3A, because the 3A had the bezels. It had the 18:9 aspect ratio, but it had the bezel, it had the forehead, it had the chin. It didn't have. They did really good on the side bezels, but that was about it. So I mean, this phone isn't physically any bigger than the 3A XL. Not the XL, but the 3A. It's not much bigger than the 3A, if at all, physically. But it does have a bigger screen, and it doesn't have the active that feature where you squeeze the phone. I forgot what they called it, the active sense or something like that. It was an HTC technology. They did away with that on this phone. The 3A had it, the 4s had it, the 3 had it, the 2. I think the original Pixels did too, because the original Pixels were manufactured by HTC, and the phone that they came out with that had that feature had came out not too long before the original Pixels, if I'm not mistaken. But y'all can correct me if I'm wrong there. But that feature has been left out. I did like it. I did. But it's so easy to summon the Google Assistant. Even without that, which is what most people used it for, I included, it doesn't really even matter. If they do plan to keep projects solely for the Pixel 5, which I doubt they will, the Pixel 4a didn't need that anyways, and you already knew it wasn't going to get it. That was a flagship feature that was introduced on the last generation flagship, the mid-range version, the mid-range variant of those phone of that phone. You knew that was going to be the first thing that it wouldn't get. I don't think people are going to make a big deal. It was not a breakaway hit. I think if Google was to still make the Pixel 5 a flagship phone with the Snapdragon 865 or 865 Plus chipset, it probably wouldn't even have Project Solely. I don't think it has anything to do whatsoever with the fact that they're going to go with the 765 instead of the 865 this year on the Pixel 5. And speaking about the 765 again with 5G in the Pixel 5 and a larger screen, Google's already announced the Pixel 4a 5G, which essentially is the XL model of this phone. It'll be larger. It may have a secondary lens on the rear. It's been rumored up in the air. Other than that, the main lens will probably remain unchanged. The 5 will probably get the largest upgrades as far as the camera goes. It'll probably get an all-new main sensor, more than likely. And I'm sure the 5 will also have wireless charging. But the 4A XL, see, I'm still calling it the XL, but the 4A 5G will have the same chipset as the 5. The Snapdragon 765. I don't think it's the 765G. It may be, but either way, it's going to have 5G. Obviously, it's supposed to start at $499, which by the time it comes out, there's going to be other 5G Snapdragon 765 powered phones available in the U.S. at that price point, $499. A lot of them are $600 right now. Your Galaxy A71 5G, your LG Velvet, but your Galaxy A51 5G just started coming out on some of the carriers for $500, which is what the Pixel 4a 5G is supposed to cost. And that will definitely be the better pick. I mean, with stock Android, the Pixel user experience, it's going to be optimized. I'm going to tell you, this phone with the 730 feels so brand new. It's incredible. It's incredible, the optimization. It is so blazing fast. I've been so impressed with it. This phone hasn't had any stutter or anything. I mean, it's just been insane. And it's just, I would have even questioned it if it was the 765, let alone the 730. Okay? Now imagine the 765 with this same level of smoothness, the same optimization, the Pixel user experience. Dude, the 4A 5G is probably going to be faster than any other 765 powered Snapdragon phone with the gaming variant of that processor. I'm not going to say it'll be faster than the Nord, but I do think it'll match the Nord, even though the Nord does have the G, the gaming variant. But it remains to be unseen. At this point, I'm just rambling on at this point. But yeah, sorry for speaking of which, sorry for all of the rambling. They're just really there's just this phone just kind of, it already has its own following. This phone has already been reviewed 100 times. And that's just in the U.S. alone. I mean, I mean, what else can be said? The phone is just a fantastic experience. Even though it's only a 60 hertz, even though it only has a 60 hertz refresh rate, it's so smooth. You would think it was 90. Honestly, sometimes after using the Nord and then going to this, I don't know if it has to do with the smaller screen. But it almost feels like it is 90 hertz. Heck, if I had to guess, and I can notice a difference, typically. But man, if I didn't know any better, I would have said this was 90 hertz. I mean, it's that smooth. I mean, it feels like a flagship. I mean, honestly, it feels like something that Sony would have came out with. Sony always used to come out with their top of the line flagship Xperia phones that had the latest and greatest Snapdragon 800 series chipset. They would release a light version, but the only thing light about it was the size. It would still have the same flagship 800 series processor, and of course, downgrading the size. There was a couple of other downgrades made, like to the screen, the technology behind it. Quad, Ultra HD or Quad HD down to Full HD, etc. I wouldn't consider the iPhone SE2 to be more flagship than this phone. Honestly, this phone is more flagship. They both have a great feel. This phone is not slow whatsoever. In real world use, you're not going to notice if the A13 is faster. The benchmarks are just synthetic anyways. This phone is just refreshing. Google nailed it. This is the Nexus. Anyways, y'all be on the lookout. I got the Asus ROG Phone 3 coming in this week. I'll quickly do an overview on that. I also will more than likely get the Pixel 4a 5G as quickly as I did this phone, hopefully. I may get the 5 over the 4a 5G. I'm not getting both, but one or the other. I'm probably going to lean more towards the 4a XL or 4a 5G. But maybe the 5, kind of depends, But anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hit me up in the comments, and as always, man, I appreciate y'all. Oh, again, really quick too, y'all. This phone does work on every carrier. It has every band, including band 71, obviously. I'm sure you already knew that. I'm sure I didn't have to go over the bands with this phone like I do in most of my videos. I know a lot of y'all like that, but I don't think I have to even do that on this phone right here. But, anyways, if anyone does have some questions, hit me up in the comments. And until my next one, peace out.